Yo, welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Chris Furlong. I am your host, and I'm super excited to be back here having the conversation with you. Episode 87 today, and today we are talking about opportunity. And that opportunity is actually out there for everyone. There is a door here that you can open, or there is an opportunity knocking at your door, ready for you to rock and roll with. Now, I'm going to be talking pretty frank today, and some of this can come across as cliche. It can come across as a little too generalized, but a lot of the time you'll find that when you actually go through, execute, take action, and progress, a lot of it is a lot of the same stuff that people talk about. The difference is your experience and you actually doing it. And we're going to dive into that a little bit today. So buckle up and let's dive in. So I was recently in a conversation talking about opportunity, and I was sharing my opinion and my thoughts. And this is my opinion, that I believe that we all have the opportunity to be in the top of our niche, or in the top of our area of play, or in our industry. But it all really comes down to doing the work. You know, are you willing to actually do that work? Some would say, look, to be the best, you need to be in the 1%. And, you know, you can run some numbers with whatever industry that you're in, and you'll be able to find what it takes to be in the top percentage of your area of play. This is different for everyone because we're not all doing exactly the same thing. But for this case, let's talk about to be in the 1%, right? And to be part of this 1%, maybe it was on YouTube, for instance, to make money off YouTube. I think we can do that. I think everyone has a fair advantage and a fair opportunity to be able to get into this. But there are some strong factors that I believe we need to really understand, and before we can actually get to that position and also even comprehend that position. And it really kicks off with what I said before around, are we willing to do the work? But it all really comes down to these. And hear me out. I'm going to spill out a whole bunch of different statements that I think will keep it real, keep it honest, and keep it frank. But as I said before, they might come across a little cliche, but we're going to dive into them a little bit deeper as we progress through this episode. So these strong factors include, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to start? Are you willing to do? Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to commit? Are you willing to have patience? Are you willing to pivot? Are you willing to adjust? Are you willing to be willing? Are you willing to grow? Are you willing to get uncomfortable? Are you willing to take a challenge? Are you willing to take a risk? Are you willing to step up? Are you willing to reflect? Are you willing to help? Are you willing to teach? And are you willing to be taught? And the list can go on and on. Now, with the above in mind that I've just shared, there is a debate that not everyone is dealt the same set of hand, or, you know, they're not given that fighting chance to be able to, or enable them to be able to have this opportunity. Now, I agree. We all start from something different. We all have an unfair advantage. We all have something different to everyone else. So we all start with a different foundation. We all start with a different playing ground. But we all still have the ability to move forwards and to move towards that top 1%. It might actually take us longer to get there, but doesn't mean you don't have the opportunity. Firstly, I would like to remove the whole focus on getting to the 1% and focusing on actually small stepping stones of progress and wins. When we remove this whole mentality of like, I want to be the best, I want to be the top of the best, not saying you shouldn't have that mindset at all to enable you to, you know, motivate and build that momentum. But sometimes when we break it down into smaller parts, it takes away the pressure. But that's a whole different conversation. The discussion I really want to have is about the separation between yourself and those who are currently at the 1%. I think we need to have a very, very clear understanding of what this 1% example looks like. You know, when you're about to embark on, okay, I want to be a YouTuber and I want to be earning X amount of dollars per month from YouTube revenue. This is just an example. You need to understand the person that you're comparing to, or the person that you're getting a example from, is one, how long have they been doing it to be able to earn how much they're earning at this point in time? What is their story? What is their unfair advantage? How has that even happened? This provides context. It also helps you see where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, but it also helps you understand what poses to them as a threat and where do they lack with opportunity, which is an opportunity for yourself. It's called a SWOT analysis. But most of the time, we will never, ever be ahead of the top. It doesn't mean you can't be in the top. You just might never be at the top. So to help you better understand this, there's this whole understanding and example of the 10,000 hour rule. Now, this won't apply to everything. This is a generalization. But let's say it takes you 10,000 hours to master anything, whatever it is you want to do, whatever skill, whatever industry you want to be in, it takes 10,000 hours. So if you start today, regardless, it will take you 10,000 hours. You're not going to be able to do 10,000 hours back to back. So that means it's going to be an hour today, an hour tomorrow, 10 hours another day, whatever. If you start in 2 years' time, you still need to do the 10,000 hours. If you've done nothing between now and 2 years, you still need to do the 10,000 hours. That's the logic behind it. So in this case, it really comes down to understanding of the time is going to pass anyway. So then the question to ask yourself would be, what am I going to do to gain that experience, some of those hours, in furthering yourself to being closer or to where you want to be? Now, by the time you have spent and exercised that 10,000 hours, for example, we're talking generalized here, the people who were already ahead of you, that have already clocked over the 10,000 mark, they're either going to be exactly where they were, because they have stopped doing what they were doing, but they've still got the experience, or they're going to be even further ahead. More likely, they're going to be further ahead, and the chances of you being ahead of them is going to be little to none. But you again cannot compare, as they have spent more time, more experience and action in creating that gap, in getting ahead of you, because they started 5 years ago. It took them 5 years to get to where they needed to be. And then by the time you start, they're going to be 5 years ahead again, or 2 years ahead again, or 10 years ahead again, because that's part of the journey. So does this mean you don't have a chance? Does this mean you don't have the opportunity to be in the top? No, it doesn't. It means the odds are against you, right? But that's life. That is life. Everything is against us. We are out here to embark on our own journey, to create our own life, to create our own adventure, to create our own story. But if we live life with this mentality that it will never happen for us, and you're not willing to actually go out and do anything about it, then you're right. Nothing will ever happen. Because if you do nothing, you'll get nothing. But if you have the willingness to start, to build, to create that momentum or that snowball effect, to progress and to grow and to learn, you will further your life. It is that simple. It's cliche, but it's that simple. You'll have the opportunity to be where you want to be and the opportunity to be at the top. Another example of this to think about is earning money. When we start a career or when you start a job, let's say I'm going to use my own example as the example. I was in the consulting space before doing my own journey of this podcast and reselling online. Now, for me, when I started that journey, I came in after graduating at university, and I came in as a grad, and that's a low-level analyst. That's the base level that you can be. And that meant I start with a base salary, a starting salary. I think back then it was probably around $55,000, $60,000. And that's what I hit the ground running with. Now, I'm not going to be able to join that company as a graduate with no experience and no, further enhancement, because I've come straight out of university. I might have a master's or I might have a bachelor. That might give some level of tweak in what I can be paid, but I'm not going to be entitled to a manager's wage. I'm not going to be entitled to a manager's role. Why would I be? I don't have the experience, nor have I got the expertise of that expectation. So the only way to get there is you need to work, you need to gain that experience, you need to learn, and then you need to repeat that. Then you will grow, you will make your way up the ladder, and you will get a promotion, potentially. You'll get a pay rise that comes with that. And let's say it takes you 7 years to get to senior manager and you're earning $160,000. With that experience, you could likely now go to another company and you would be able to start your base at $160,000 or likely a little more. Now, it won't take you 7 years to get to where you are now, but it may take you 7 years to be at that next top level. Maybe it's an executive or, a CIO, or I'm talking chief information officer, or a top gun, like someone at the top. It's still going to take you time to get there. You can't just do 1, 2, 3, skip a few, 99, 100. But the beauty here is that, you've done 7 years of experience, you've done 7 years of action, you've done 7 years of work. So now decisions are easier. The work that you have been doing is easier. Things move quicker because they don't take as much time, because you know how. You've got the grit, you've got the experience, you've got the hustle, you've got the drive, you've got the momentum, you've got the understanding, you've got contacts, you've got people in your space that are enabling you to move forward quicker. What you're learning today, after 7 years, is going to be different. It's not going to be foundational. It's not going to be the basics, but it's putting those learnings into action. It's now executing and making that more refined. It's systemizing it. It's, making it transferable, making it scalable, and scaling whatever it is that you're doing. So when you look ahead and dream of where you want to be, that place, that version of you, it only exists based on a series of events, right? And that could be good decisions. It could be bad decisions. It could be from opportunities that come. It could be from experience. It could be from actions. It could be from patience. It's from learning. It's from pivoting. It's from listening. It's from teaching, and the list goes on. The reality is it's not about hustling the big time. It's about doing the small things, the little steps and actions consistently over a long period of time. That's the reality of it. And that is how we then make these opportunities become real. That is how we get to the top. Now, as I said before, the chances of you being the biggest, the best, and number one in your field is going to be very low. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but it doesn't also mean you don't have access to be able to be in that top of the game, in the top 1%. If we sit around and have this idea, it's like, oh, well, the chances of us getting there isn't going to be realistic, so therefore I'm not even going to bother. With that mentality, that's the reality that you will live. Whereas as we start to progress and move forward, you might actually find that where you thought you wanted to be isn't exactly where you wanted to be, but by going through that experience, you can pivot, you can adjust, and it will lead you somewhere else, which might actually put you ahead of the game of someone else, or in a whole new niche, a whole new area, and actually you could become the top in that field. And that's how it usually happens, because now you've combined passion and purpose together, which actually when you combine that, it makes you someone that is an outlier to the someone that is next to you, or the someone that you're comparing to. So that's it, folks. That's what I wanted to really talk to you about today. And like I said, I was keeping it frank, I was keeping it real, and maybe keeping it a little cliche and a little generalized. But the reality is, when we put ourselves out there, that's what you're going to get. A reality of, how am I going to get to where I want to be? You got to do action. How am I going to get that? You got to do some work. That's the reality of it. And it's a very cliche statement. But I think as we progress, as I said, when you go through something for a long period of time, you've got some experience, those things get easier, which means it makes more sense. You have better clarity and you're able to execute with a lot more ease. Really do appreciate you being here. If you do have any questions, any comments, any thoughts, more than happy to continue the conversation. You can connect with me. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Further Your Lifestyle, or you can hit me up on Twitter at Further Your Life. Really do appreciate you being here. If you are on the YouTube, you can also drop a comment down below. Yeah, I look forward to chatting with you. And as I said before, really do appreciate you being here. You have a wonderful day. Cheers. Now, if you didn't know, we do have the podcast merch, and this is with a key focus of enamel pins. Now, if you haven't checked these out, make sure you do, because the intent of these are really just to be a small token and a reminder for you to charge on, to push on, and to further your lifestyle. Whether it is a gift for someone else to encourage them, or maybe to inspire them, or maybe it's a way to motivate yourself, or you can simply just make a purchase to simply support the podcast, which would be greatly appreciated. We do also have some sweaters and some long tees, so make sure you check it out. Link in the description and in the show notes. Really do appreciate it. Cheers.